but that's what I like about the IT world. It's ever changing. You have to be able to wear multiple different hats on any given day. And that's what makes it fun. It's, like I said, it's ever changing. No project is the same. No implementation is the same. Granted, some are a lot harder than others. Some go smoothly, but that's the nature of the game.
Hello, welcome everybody. It's time to get in the hole with Tech-Gofer. Today we have arguably one of our best customers. We love him to death, Bob Baumann, who's the VP of IT at Roadrunner. Thank you for joining us, Bob.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So I love the background. Can you tell us where is that from?
Yeah, that is from my country club called Willowbrook Country Club. It's in Apollo, PA.
Nice.
Try to get out there usually twice a week and walk 9. But it's been so hot in Western PA lately that a lot of the public courses are so burned out when it's 95 degrees. But the country club keeps it extremely plush, and greens are rolling really fast.
Nice. So we're gonna get a chance because I'm gonna be out there later this year as we're doing an event. You get to take me out there? All right.
Yep, we'll get to play for sure.
Good. I love it. All right. Well, as we normally do, we start with what are we drinking today? And I happen to pick out something I feel is very special. Anybody I've introduced it to, and that's Jefferson's Motorboat, which I will show everybody just so that you don't think that I'm cheating. Here is the bottle of Malort, which I have put into a very fun bottle. This is a very exciting thing that people that come to my house that don't know that they never had it get to have. So, Bob, why don't you just pour yourself a little some, and we'll kick the show off.
All righty.
You let me know when you're ready.
Good to go.
All right, here we go. Cheers.
Whew.
Yeah. So
it's definitely would be an acquired taste, that's for sure.
Yeah. So the story goes on my end with Malort. A friend of mine from Wisconsin was visiting. And he mentioned, "Have you ever had it?" Like, no. He's like, "Oh, you should definitely get some." So I got a bottle next time I was at Total Wine. I randomly had it, and I tried it, and it has a very, very, very bitter, weird aftertaste for those of you that have never had it. Hence why both Bob and I are making faces. And now it's become a tradition at my house for family or friends that if you've never tried it, you have to. So we, a lot of people have tried it. We've only had one cousin that actually goes out of his way and loves it. But anyway, we did it. It's a weird story of actually one of the funnier things you'll ever read is if you look up New York Times sommeliers reviewing Malort. I can't even think because the Malort is hitting me, but that is a very, very funny read for those of you that are interested. So let's just jump into it, Bob, which again, now it's time for our candid tech conversation. So title of this episode is IT Leadership Within a Fast Scaling Company. Little background, I met Bob, I think 4 plus years ago when he was fairly new at Roadrunner. And Roadrunner had, I think at the time had only 250 employees. You had mentioned that, they had just gotten funding, looking to scale, and everything was everywhere. There was a lot of not consistencies and whatnot. And so I want to kind of talk with you. Well, first of all, before we jump into the nitty gritty, tell us a little bit about your background and, how you got to Roadrunner and et cetera.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'll give you the kind of the whole overview. I mean, I never really was headed in the path of technology. I actually started at Kent State to be an architect. Ever since I was 3-4 years old, I was always designing buildings, drawing buildings. I took private art lessons for 12 years when I was little, and I always every single class I was like, when am I going to paint a house, or when am I going to design a house or do something. So my art teacher kind of said like, hey, you love to do all these building things. Let's get you on something else. Let's do some pictures of animals or faces or things like that. So, it was gung-ho architecture. Started at Kent State in the architecture, loved it. But, as soon as they got to building abstract house or abstract things with popsicle sticks and things like that, I said, wait a minute. Why are we not designing houses? Like, I want to build a house or a barn or something. And they said, oh, that's not until year 2. So I said, well, that's not for me then. I think I need to take a different direction. And, after a lot of consultation with people and friends and family, they said, well, why don't you go into tech? You love that ever-changing environment. You've always broken the family's home computer where you had to completely re-image it. And they're like, you had to call where you had to call HP and order the recovery CDs back then. And, the machine was down for 6 days and, parents couldn't use it to pay bills or look up things. And they're like, what did you do to the computer? So yeah, started down that track at Kent State, earned my bachelor's in management and information systems. And quickly after that, I was a student tech there on campus, and I kind of slid right into a full-time role there as a manager of information technology for the College of Communication and Information, where we supported about 900 students across 4 different schools, probably 500 or so faculty. We had the School of Visual Communication Design, School of Communication and Information, and School of Informatics. So yeah, as my time there progressed, I earned my master's in enterprise architecture with a concentration in project management. That's kind of the track I wanted to head. Obviously the IT stuff excites me, but the management of it and the future planning of all of that is kind of where, I saw myself in, the next 10, 15, 20 years after school. Also at my time at Kent State, I earned my master's in business administration with a concentration in international business. So pretty well-rounded. I kind of encompassed the entire technology with the business bubble, we'll say, and kind of, kind of put all that stuff to use. And then, 2020 came, COVID hit. Everyone was kind of, at the university too. Everyone went to work from home. All my family, all my friends, all my golfing buddies are back here in Pittsburgh. I said, hey, I had some things lined up. Roadrunner came along, talked to the recruiter. The university was offering a heck of a deal to severance package. So I made my way back to Pittsburgh and joined Roadrunner Recycling at, employee number, I think I was number 120. At that time, small company that had secured probably about $40 million in funding, opened in 2014. Had an office in New York City and some in Pittsburgh. And, it was literally probably the size of some people's office. There was 4 or 5 people in there making calls, doing things. Everybody was there buying computers off of Amazon or Best Buy or, hey, we got a new employee starting today. Let's run down the street and he needs something. That has to turn on. Doesn't matter what it does. It needs to connect to the internet and launch probably Internet Explorer at the time on, Windows XP. But yeah, so, quickly joined there and kind of, my first 60, 90 days there, got into things. It was not much technology infrastructure at all. Like I said, they had some defined departments, operations, finance, things like that. There was no HR operations at all. It was kind of a free for all. They still were in that mindset of, hey, we've got people onboarding, we need to buy computers. Hey, we need 15, let's order them on Amazon. They'll show up in 3 days. No real imaging processes, no security applications at all. Obviously, no Azure Active Directory, nothing like that. It was like, hey, I think, to get around some of these things, we need to create an Outlook account and set them up a temporary password, and that's what their login to their computer is. So yeah, it was exciting times, and I think we've been able to come a long way in 4 years. That's for sure.
Yeah, I do remember some of those early conversations of, this group uses this software, this group's using this is this, and so it's always been a little bit of a challenge, but also fun in helping you as the decision maker over there, and with us and our experts supporting you, choose that right technology that scales and infiltrates, and then it's everybody's standardized. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the main projects that you've done to make this fast growing company that, just so our viewers understand, went from you as 120th employee up to, I think at the height, like 850 or so employees in a couple of years? Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, we're about just shy of 500 now, but I mean, I think, ever since I met Nick at Tech-Gofer, it was, like I said, employee 125. We can talk a little bit about we've onboarded about 400, we'll say 400 employees over the course of 2 years. And I mean, there's a lot of technology challenges that kind of surround that. Obviously, even for a well-matured company, some of those things would be rather difficult, to onboard
Sure.
that many people. And, sometimes we were talking onboarding class of 65 a month. And, with kind of no real tech department, it was me, and another
Yeah,
guy that were kind of managing that. So it was like, hey, we have to onboard 65 people next month. Oh, wait a minute, but we have to also do all of these other things. So it quickly became overwhelming. Our first project we did with Tech-Gofer was, I came on board and we had a phone system that just wasn't doing it for us.
Mhm.
Met Nick at Tech-Gofer, and they quickly became a extremely valuable resource to help me look and vet vendors. I kind of use the analogy of, if you're going to go buy a house, you don't just start driving around the neighborhood looking for sale signs that are out there. You're going to contact an agent and say, hey, I need a 3-bedroom house, 2 baths, finished basement, 2-car garage. Oh, by the way, it has to have a pool, and it needs to be in one of the best school districts in the state with 3.2 acres. I have no idea where to find that at. So I'm going to enlist a real estate agent. Same with, technology and SaaS applications. I said to Nick, these are the requirements I need. These are how many users I have. This is what I want it to do. Oh, and by the way, it needs a Salesforce integration. It needs to integrate with Slack. It needs to integrate with, you name it, whatever software out there. And, Tech-Gofer comes back and says, here's 15 vendors that will meet your needs. Which one would you like to meet with? We can meet with all 15. You can pick 2, whatever. And once they kind of help you through that process, obviously you have to sell it to the leadership team and your C-suite. So they help with, executive summaries and things like that. It's a pretty streamlined process, and it takes, obviously me as 1 or 2 guys on my team takes that process off of us, because when you're setting up 60 computers and still trying to manage everything else and other departments and other ongoing projects, I don't have the time to vet every single application. And it would take me 8 months to put something in where, meeting with vendors and seeing demos and seeing what they do and what they don't do correctly and things like that. So yeah, that's where, kind of Tech-Gofer really excels on those things.
No, I appreciate the kind words. And again, it's been I was kind of going back through all the projects, which interestingly enough, I mean, it's been 6 or 7 different projects. Everything from the phone system was the first one, with contact center, all the way through some cybersecurity stuff. So
Yep.
I wanted to ask as well, like, obviously you mentioned when you first got on, there was no cybersecurity. So in the company that's fast, scaling very fast, what were some of the first things that you did, and what were some of the, I guess let's share best practices or maybe even some mistakes you made in that cybersecurity space, just because it's ever changing. You as a small team, like, that can be tough to sell the executives on, et cetera. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so obviously cybersecurity, data protection is an ever-changing field for sure. There's probably been 3 or 4 attempted hacks in the past 3 seconds that we're sitting here talking. Like when I first got on, there was no security application, nothing. No, everybody shared logins to AWS. The engineers all had access to databases, and those URLs were just open to the outside world. So if somebody was able to get the URL to our AWS instance, they could, in a sense, brute force attack it, get in, do whatever they needed to do. We had some Google Analytics around our core application that's homegrown, but they would, I would always ask, when I first got there, hey, what's some security around, around Coyote, we call it. Oh yeah, we have Google Analytics installed on it. We'll see if somebody gets in. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. Once somebody gets in, it's too late.
Right.
We've lost all of our data, or they've shut down our databases, things like that. So I mean, it's been, and security for me, I'm not a security expert. There's so many different vendors out there, and it's just, it's basically like walking in a minefield when you're looking for those applications. So what I, basically said was we need to secure the endpoint first. How are we going to do that?
Mhm.
So we met with a lot of vendors, kind of settled on CrowdStrike for that, EDR solution.
Mhm.
All done through Tech-Gofer, which was great. That's been working really, really well for us. So now that that's kind of in place, we've kind of went to the next level and said, hey, now that we've got some EDR solutions in place, we need to get a VPN in place. So, over the past 8 months, year, we've implemented Cato VPN. So all of our employees, log into the VPN. We can track all that. Recently, I can tell you about an incident we had. We onboarded two brand new software engineers, interviewing, everything checked out, everything like that. Day one work came. We seen that, you have to be in the United States to work here. Both of those computers logged in with an IP address from Pakistan. So that was something, Cato caught. We were able to quickly mitigate that risk, shut those devices down. Obviously nothing was compromised or anything like that. But yeah, that's the, kudos to Cato for catching that, connection coming in from there. Shortly, we're looking at some other stuff now to implement some MDR, managed detection response, with next gen SIEM coming next.
Bob, a question that I was thinking would be interesting for our viewers and listeners to kind of hear you talk about is, we as Tech-Gofer, we've kind of brought a lot of good vendors to your attention that should be a good fit. And then when it comes time, especially I think it's interesting for you to make recommendations to your C-level. And then you got put in an interesting scenario where, because of the funding, not only were you dealing with your C-level, you were actually dealing with an entire board, who I remember in certain discussions, not to disclose too much, the board had a lot of opinions on what they wanted or what they thought would be a good fit. So do you want to talk a little bit about that process and how, you in particular, talking and working with your leadership to get your ideas approved that are aligning with their business goals as well as the board? Because I know that in talking with a lot of the IT leaders that come to our events, sometimes that can be a big challenge of, I've done all this due diligence, this is the right fit, and now I can't sell it, I can't get budget. They keep telling me no. So if you could share anything about your journey, I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously boards can be challenging. They kind of drive the ship or steer the ship where they want it to go. Good or bad, it may not always be the right direction. Business wise, it may be advantageous to go this way. And I think that's kind of the, to allude before, Nick, one of the things I do like about technology and its ever-changing environment. You have to kind of be able to, basically, if the front of the ship is steering this way, you in IT, in infrastructure and things like that, have to be able to pivot the back and say, hey, we're going to follow them this way, but we're going to corral a couple things and say, hey, you recommended these 7 steps. Here's, why? And then, we can come in and say, hey, we don't think this is the way to go. Let's have a discussion about, obviously, we did a lot of that through executive summaries and things like that, and kind of just pulling all these resources together to say, hey, this is the direction of the business, the C-level, the executives, the CEO, things like that. They're going to have their own visions and where they want to go. And, a lot of the time they're not really thinking about technology, I'm going to say technology operations, infrastructure operations, security, things like that. The only time that I think those words come into their radar is, we have an incident, security. What's going on? Why don't we have that in place? Well, budgetary reasons permitted us from doing that. Why? The board denied that. Well, we need it right now because, now we're being reactive to a situation. So I think that's, but that's what I like about the IT world. It's ever changing. You have to be able to wear multiple different hats on any given day. I mean, you have to jump from one phone call about securities to another phone call about AWS, and the next phone call is about, something not even technology related. It's more onboarding and how you're onboarding with new employees, technology in the background. But, so it's kind of, that's that wearing multiple hats literally every single minute. And sometimes, if you're in an office situation, it's wearing multiple hats as you walk down the hallway and talk to different people and things like that. So that's what makes it fun. It's, like I said, it's ever changing. No project is the same. No implementation is the same. Granted, some are a lot harder than others. Some go smoothly, but that's the nature of the game.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you sharing that. And, appreciate you being on, as I said. So last segment of the podcast is always about a little something about golf, which I was very excited to have you on because you've got a big golf venture that you've been working on, which is the launch of White Hippo Golf, which is an apparel company. I'll let you tell us about White Hippo Golf.
Yeah. So Thanks, Nick. Yeah, White Hippo Golf has been a vision of mine for about 3 years now. It actually started on this golf course behind me that
Nice.
Nick will actually get to see the spot where the shot actually happened from the rough underneath some trees on this long par five. And you know, my buddy was like, "Hey, I don't know how White Hippo got brought up, but I said, hey, that name sticks. That's a let's do a golf apparel company around that." So yeah, we're very, very close, weeks away from launching. Starting to get all of our initial products in. Stuff will be up on the site very soon. whitehippogolf.com. I mean, I can show you a couple. We've got anything
Love to
from,
see it. Let's go.
well, let's turn the background off so we can actually see that everything from nice gloves, a couple different logos.
There you go.
We've got little towels on the green towels. We've got a couple different options of hats.
Nice.
About four different colors of divot tools, and you can have your pick of any. Oh, the Malord almost hit the floor.
Don't do that.
Some 3D ball markers.
Yeah, those are the ones that I like.
Very cool, very cool. And
Those
we have it's a magnetic bag golf towel, big towel.
cool.
And then this is one of the sample shirts. This will be one of the crazy designs coming out in the first revision. So yeah, look for all that stuff on the website in a few weeks. We will have some new stuff coming up later in the fall, some shorts, pants, and we're doing some pullovers and some hoodies as well.
Sweet.
So yeah, it's been an exciting time. It's certainly a heck of a lot of work. I didn't realize starting an apparel brand is that much work and that much, late night calls with suppliers and back and forth. And do you like this stitching? Do you like this stitching around the shoulder? How do you want the logo on there? How do you, I mean, is it this big or is it that big? Hey, do you have, a number registered with the federal government to be able to import these things? What is it? How do you do this? Hey, your clothing's done. It's sitting here. Well, ship it to me. Why don't ship? You have to have a freight forwarder. And by the way, it's 600 pounds and 3 pallets. How do you want to get it to you? By sea, by air? This one takes 15 days. This one takes 35. It's been a lot. I've got totes and stuff of initial product all around my house, and people are saying, what are we doing with this? Where's it going? Can it go downstairs? It's in the living room right now. So yes, it's been a very, very fun times, and got a lot of people interested who are saying, hey, when's that launching? I want my stuff. So yes, definitely whitehippogolf.com. It'll be live in a few weeks though.
Cool. No, well, again, I look forward to having some here that I can display for you.
Yep.
And also getting some when I see you in a couple of months. So.
Couple weeks, 2 weeks.
That's true. That's true. You are going to be at our upcoming event.
That's right. Yeah.
So, listen, Bob, again, appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. For everybody that's out there listening, if you want to talk with Bob about him working with Tech-Gofer, please contact us at our website, www.tech-gofer.com. Also on the website is all of our upcoming events, which we're doing a lot of peer-to-peer networking events through November. And then we'll be coming out real big with, I'll save it for later, but there'll be some golf tournaments. There'll be some networking events. There'll be a lot of fun for everybody that chooses to talk to Tech-Gofer. So again, Bob, thank you again for your time, and to everybody out there, cheers.
Yep. See you guys.
All right.